Hello, and welcome to my guide on remote code upload and execution using the Meterpreter Payload and Metasploit Framework 3. The objective of this activity is to exploit a vulnerable Windows XP Service Pack 1 machine and upload Netcat to it using various features of the Meterpreter Payload. Now, normally one would have to do some reconnaissance in order to identify a vulnerable host on the network. However, for the sake of this activity, I have one pre-configured for me. So what I'm going to do is make note of my victim's IP address, bring up my Ubuntu machine, and go ahead and drop into the root shell of a terminal. Once you're in the root shell, what you're going to need to do is change directories into your Metasploit framework. If you installed it as per the directions on the website, it can be located in /opt/metasploit3/msf3, and once you're there, you can look and see all the various files and folders that are associated with the Metasploit framework. What we're going to need to do first is look in the modules folder so that we can identify the exploit we'll be using in the MSF console. We can do this by doing ls modules/exploits and /Windows, since we're going to be attacking a Windows machine, and here we can see all the various services that we'll be able to exploit from the MSF console. Since we're going to be attacking the SMB service today, we can look in that folder, and here we can see all the various exploits against SMB services in various Windows environments. The one that we know works for us is the MS08-067 Net API exploit, and what we can do now is just go ahead and highlight and copy that to memory so that we can identify it in the MSF console later. Also, when you copy this, make sure to leave off the .rb because the console won't recognize the file extension. Alright, now to bring up our application, we'll do / to compile the binary and MSF console to specify the application. And while this is loading up, it's also a good idea to maximize the screen because as you make your configurations, text can get jumbled up in here, and it's just a lot cleaner when the screen is maximized. Alright, now you can see that our prompt changes to an MSF prompt, and the first command we can execute in here is show exploits, and what this will do is give us a list of all the exploits available to us. However, as you can see, they're not organized in any meaningful way. So this is why it's better to go and find your exploit before you come in here so that you can build your file path and see it in a more meaningful way like that. Alright, so what we'll do is we'll use, and since it was a Windows exploit, /smb, and then what we can do is just middle click and paste the exploit that we copied earlier to the end of that. If you did not copy it, then the exploit is ms08_067_ net-API. Now we can hit enter to set that and issue the info command, and this will give us some information about the exploit that we've just set up. We have some information such as which service packs are vulnerable to this attack, basic options that we'll need to configure, and also a brief description of the exploit itself. As you can see in the options, most of it has already been configured for us, but we still need to configure a remote host. So we can do that by using the set our host command, and I'm using the IP address of my victim, but you'll want to use the IP address of your victim. Alright, now we can use the show options command, and this will just show us the configuration of our exploit, and here we can see that the remote host variable has been set and it also has been applied to the exploit. Now that we have that configured, what we're going to need to do is select a payload, which is like a one-shot action after the exploit has been completed. We can do that by using the show payloads command, and this will give us a list of all the payloads that we have access to. The payload that we'll be using for this activity is the Windows patched up Meterpreter bind TCP payload. Here we can just highlight that and then set payload and middle click, and then it'll actually paste that there. And now our payload is set up with the patched up Meterpreter bind TCP payload. we can run show options, and this will show us that the payload has been attached to the exploit and that the remote host variable we set earlier is also attached to both of them as well. Now the only thing we need to do is launch the exploit by typing exploit and hitting enter, and here you'll see after the exploit completes that we will drop from the MSF prompt and we'll actually be in a Meterpreter prompt. What this means is we are actually interacting with the Windows machine, however we have Linux commands. So what we can do is type pwd and verify that we're in the C Windows System 32 folder. What we'll want to do next is change directories to the C:/root directory of the Windows machine. Now we can look at the directory and see all the contents of it. This is where we'll want to install Netcat. So what we can do for that is bring up another terminal and change directory into wherever you have Netcat installed. For me, it's on the desktop, and then you can do a pwd print directory to see the file path. Also, you'll want to do ls so that you can see the name of your folder. Okay, from here we can highlight the directory and then paste it here, and then add a slash, and then also copy and paste the name of the folder. And what this gives us is the full file path of the folder we wish to upload to the victim. Now we can go back into our Meterpreter session and issue the help command, and this will give us all the Meterpreter commands that we have access to. Since we want to send something to the system, we look for the file system commands, and as you can see we have a command that simply is just upload. So what we'll do is we'll upload. Oh, first we need to make a directory. So we will make dir and name it Netcat. And now verify that we have made the Netcat folder. Alright, and now what we want to do is upload the file path that we've previously copied, and we want to upload it to C:/Netcat. And this will move all of the contents into that Netcat folder we just created on the victim. And now we can cd into Netcat and look and see all of the contents that we've just uploaded. Now from here what we'll want to do is drop into a shell so that we're actually interacting as the victim now. And you can see that our commands have changed from Linux to commands to Windows commands, and now we can use like the directory command and anything you could use in there, ipconfig to see the IP address. So what we'll want to do here is verify that we can use the Netcat on the victim machine, and to do that we'll just do nc -h, and that will print out a list of commands that we can do from in here. This concludes my tutorial. I hope it was useful to you. Good luck.